we couldn't have it. Oh, hey, I know I've been through it, and I hope you feel the same someday. Yeah. Well, we make a big noise at the top, and we know what's good and what's not. Hey, after I've been through, I know all it takes is you. I gotta keep on moving, gotta keep on rolling at the top. Can't you hear me? I wanna say it, I wanna play it, I wanna do it all through the night. Oh. Said we couldn't do it. Said we couldn't have it. Oh, hey. Lord, I've been through it. Oh, Lord, I've been through it. I gotta keep on moving. I gotta keep on rolling at the top. Can't you hear me? I wanna say it, I wanna play it, I wanna do it all. I wanna say it, I wanna play it, I wanna do it all through the night. Yeah.
So everyone, today we have Greg T. Walker on the show. A lot of you will know him from the band Blackfoot, maybe Lynyrd Skynyrd. You've heard of them, right? Good Southern rock, but today we're going to talk about the formation of Two Wolf, and their very first album is out now through the awesome Cleopatra Records. They are such a good label, aren't they? So welcome, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And you?
Doing good, excited, and I love it because this music is just, we need to have some true rock out there. Like, I know it's Southern, it's got the blues part of it that I love dearly, but it's like, we need that kind of music. I think just to get out the juju in our bodies, we need it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like a good, run on the beach, and I think if we bottle that stuff up, it isn't good for us. Then we get nasty and crabby, and we don't want that. We need to have the music. We want the music. But yeah, so you founded this with Lance Lopez, amazing guitarist who's been on the show before, and everyone, I'll link that interview in the episode notes. But you guys started this, what, almost a decade ago, right?
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah. Wow.
That's the first guitarist that came in, but he had a lot going on at the time,
Mhm.
so he only stayed about 2 months. Then we brought Chris Bell in, who I had known about 5 years. Same thing, he had a lot going on. So we went three-piece, and then a couple of years passed, and I got Lance and Chris both back in the band at the same time. I said,
Wow.
"Finally."
I mean, and on the drum side, I mean, between it all and then your bass playing, we're just I think it's cool that it's like 4 of you.
Mhm.
Because if it got any bigger, like, I don't know. I think that's part of that energy that you have.
Yeah, it's just it's a throwback to the after the '60s when the '70s hit, it's just 2 guitars, bass, and drums.
Mm.
That's enough.
Yeah.
We all play
Eh,
other instruments, but we stick to what we do best.
yeah. And that's where the soul gets to take over, and
Mhm.
just go for it. But yeah, I mean, and Blackfoot has that same kind of energy to me,
Right.
that same drive, and it's
Almost
just got that,
unexpected, yeah.
wow. Yeah. Yeah. So if people have not listened to Blackfoot, I encourage you go do that. But this album, when did you guys start recording this? Because it came out in the summer, so it's only been out for a few months. We're late.
And vinyl comes out October 17th, so
Ooh,
Cleopatra's already doing pre-sales on that. People have ordered.
awesome.
People have told me. It took about a year. We made 4 trips, and that was in, the foothills below Nashville and, it's out in the rolling hills, just a beautiful place. Great studio, great engineer, great owners. So we did, like, 4 songs, and a few months later, went back and did 4 more. About a year, and then we
Okay.
finally got enough for an album, and we didn't have a deal yet. We
Oh,
just wanted to make an album and decide what to do with it eventually, and played it for Cleopatra, and they grabbed it right off the bat. It's like, "Heck yes."
we need it. It is so good. And you have every little bit of sensibility in there. There's a song for every vibe that you want or what feeling, whatever. It's gonna get you through. I just, to me, I'm like, where's the double album already? And this is the first one with you guys. I'm like, I'm not done. I'm not done. But you've got some sides of there that, you trick us into, oh, this is gonna be a nice ballad, and then all of a sudden, no.
Kinda get smacked in the face, and a big power chord comes in.
Yeah, and it's not overdone. So how do you work together in regards to keeping the dynamics when something is so powerful and feels so channeled, but you still have those dynamics in there in volumes and sounds? And I mean, is it the simplicity that helps to keep that?
I think so, yeah, less is more, we always were thinking. Don't overplay and don't try to drown anybody else out. Now, in a studio, you can control that, of course. You can just turn a knob down or up. But live's the same principle. Not careful live, everybody winds up on 10 and there's no place else to go. It's
Yeah,
just a roar. So
yeah.
we work on dynamics.
Well, your album does have a live feel to it. That's the energy.
Well,
I-
we were all in the same room. We recorded live. I mean, everything was mic'd and so forth, but we were all in the same room. So we had the feeling of playing on stage.
Mhm. That's cool.
In past years, sometimes you would be in different rooms or
Mhm.
glass booths and you couldn't reach out and touch anybody. It
Yeah,
was
drummers are
kinda
always cornered off.
and it's
They
kinda
always
sterile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How does that for you as a bass player? Because I always look at bass and drums are the foundation, but the bass is almost the glue to the other instruments, to the other guitarists. Like you're that in between that makes everybody go together. The drummer is obviously crucial.
mhm.
But how is that when they put a drummer in the separate room? I almost feel like you're cutting the energy off.
Absolutely, yeah, and I've done that. I did an album over in France some years back, and the drummer was in a booth, and I mean, I could see him. I was 6 feet away, and the guitar player was in another glass booth. I was in a big room, and yeah, it's real sterile. You don't have
Mhm.
that energy that, where you're in the same room, you just kind of gravitate towards each other. You have good eye contact.
Yeah,
More
exactly.
conducive that way.
Yeah, and it's funny how bands can do that too, even if they haven't been playing for years. It's like you're already married. The first
Mhm.
song, you're already married, you're already having that communication, and you don't even sometimes have to look at the other person. You already know what they're gonna. It's wild, especially over
Yeah.
time, though. Yeah.
Hmm.
it's a marriage. Now, how did you connect with Rusty Valentine, the drummer? 'Cause since we're talking so much on drums too.
Yeah, Rusty, I met through Charlie Hardwitt, who was the guitar player in Blackfoot all those years. And we were looking for a drummer, and he mentioned Rusty. And so Rusty came over here. He lives about an hour away one Saturday, and he and I just played bass and drums. And he came back the next Saturday. I loved his work ethic, and I wasn't sure. And I kept saying, hit the drums. You can't hurt them. They're made to be beat on. They're drums. He was playing it safe. And then he turned into a monster. And now he hits with everything he's got. So it really worked out great. Thanks to
That's
Charlie
cool.
for recommending him.
Yeah. Now, how did you meet Lance in the beginning?
I met him through the first drummer we had in Two Wolf because we were
Okay.
looking for another guitar player, and he said, "I know this guy," which is Lance, and that's how I met Lance. So
Mm,
Lance was really busy at the time.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's touring all the time. He's always on the road and playing and, just, yeah. And he's wild. He's a wild child. You know,
Yeah,
that's, it's always a good thing. You got to
that's
have
how
that
I met him
wildness.
was through the first drummer we had. We had
Mm.
met him several times.
And I think it's cool you got two guitarists just going for it, you
Yeah,
know?
it
Yeah.
is great. A lot of
Wide open.
energy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think about when we're listening. I'm like, this is, and like, you're going to give, I call it the speeding ticket music because it gets a little loud in the car. Then all of a sudden you're going, and
Mhm.
then next thing you know, you're really going, and then you see the flashing lights, and then you may just go keep going.
I get off stage at night and I'm in the middle on stage and I'm just constantly looking at Lance like, wow, dude, you're doing so great. Now look at Chris, I'm doing so great. Now turn around and look at Rusty. I'm like, my neck's sore. I'm feeding off their energy so much.
Now, are you going to do any tours overseas and go to Europe? Because I know they're going to eat this up so much.
I really hope so. And we have been asked that so many times by our
Mhm.
followers. Blackfoot was huge over there.
That's what I was going to say. Blackfoot had to be. Yeah.
Well, because we had that hard rock sound, and the Europeans, they don't like, easy listening. They want it in your face. The headbangers, they call it.
Dirt. They want,
AC/DC, and
yeah.
oh my gosh, we got over there at Hammersmith Odeon and looked up in the balcony, and all those kids were up there and they were doing like this. Hair was just
Yeah.
flying all over the place and nonstop from start to finish every song.
Mm,
And then more tame bands who were excellent musicians were boring to them. They're like, we like the music, but we want to rock. So they
yeah.
embraced it. We did all the big festivals. We wound up touring with Deep Purple, The Who,
Uh,
over here and in
yeah.
Canada, AC/DC with Bon Scott, and then later with Brian when he came in after Bon passed. Yeah, we made lifelong friendships.
Yeah. And
Sure,
being
I
able to
love it.
touring with other bands like that, you really do get into, that's the other
Yeah.
marriage, is to really be able to do that and understand each other's shows to support each other, you
Hmm.
know? That's the,
We
now
had
mm,
Scorpions that we took out,
mm,
and they opened for us. I think with Ted Nugent, matter of fact, part of that
mm,
tour. And then we went to Europe and opened for Scorpions, where they were big. So we helped each other on each side of the pond, and it worked out
mm,
good. And we brought Def Leppard over, and that kind of catapulted them. Iron Maiden, same thing.
mm.
We did
Wow.
festivals with Iron Maiden. We had a blast. And we still
Have you ever heard of the band Bang? Bang, Bang the band?
don't think so.
Arguably one of the very first heavy metal bands like after Ozzy. And then they weren't long, they weren't out for years and years, but they were fantastic out of Florida. That was Florida made them famous. They're from
Okay.
Pennsylvania area. Came to do some festival and didn't get in. They got stoned camping in Daytona and just went on stage because no one was playing and went, we're going on stage. And they just did.
What?
It's cool. But I was wondering because I know you're based out of Florida. That's your point. I mean, Florida's got to love you. Georgia, obviously, Macon is the Southern rock capital, isn't it? So,
Yeah, that's what it's referred to as. I don't
yeah.
know that it's necessarily the birthplace because the Allmans were living in Jacksonville right before they call it the Allman Brothers, the Second Coming. And they switched members midweek because we did a battle of the bands with them and we were using a different name. So we got disqualified, but they did let us play in the final round. And, that was Blackfoot and Allman Brothers, but at the time it was
Wow.
Second Coming, and I think we were called Hammer.
Okay.
It was both of our first shows as a band, you know, as a new band.
Well,
But
do you remember your
Macon became kind of a stomping ground and a proving ground because of Alan Walden and, the Walden Brothers and Capricorn Records. And the next thing you know, Wet Willie and Marshall Tucker, everybody gravitated toward Macon.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because like Derek Trucks and Susan live in Jacksonville, I think, still. So it's still that section. There's this section of the country that is hardcore Southern rock. And there's a thing to that because it's an immersion of cultures, I think,
Yeah, the west side of Jacksonville turned out to be kind of a proving ground, you might say, and more bands that went on to great success came from the west side of Jacksonville.
Well, I'm just trying to think now, who is new in Southern rock? Like, really, that's that's why I'm like, thank God you guys are out there right now. Cause you just don't, it's either gets put into country and then that's a whole different thing, even though it's got those, you know what I mean? It's like pop music is now called country. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know. I don't know. No, you're saying
Yeah. I just feel like,
Blackberry Smoke.
oh God, I love
When I
them.
met those guys,
Mm.
they were playing really great rock. Then they kind of moved into a little bit of a country flavor. I saw them this year on the Rock Legends cruise that we were on. What a great bunch of performers, great guys, great musicians, but it's not the same Blackberry Smoke when I met them years earlier.
Well, that changes with bands too, and people, and just the sound. But the country thing is just wild to me. But I really want some new rock. Like, so this is like a treasure find. Like, it's like, yay, I got a treasure box open of really good music,
I mean, you
And
got
so,
the Georgia Thunderbolts. That's kind of a mixture of, roots Southern rock with a little bit of edge to it. Robert John and the Wreck, that's another band that's doing pretty well. They're not Southern, but Georgia Thunderbolts are.
yeah. Now, with you guys going and doing shows, I know as we're recording this, you're going to be up in the Smoky Mountains coming up. And I know that's October 4th. I'm not sure exactly what date this is airing, but you're doing shows around in the South, right? So next year, are you going to do the cruise again, the Rock the Legends cruise? Awesome.
Be number 13.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
For me, I hold the record as a performer on the cruise. Ernest Powell did the first 8 and never been on since. So now coming up on 13. In fact, I
Wow.
talked to the Native American Heritage Association just today. We stay in touch all year. But
Cool.
we were just up in New York 2 weeks ago. It was chilly up there.
I bet.
We got on stage, it was 55. It was like 75 in the day, and that sun went down. It was a covered pavilion. Thank God the wind was not blowing. Fingers are kind of cold and the strings
Yeah.
are going out of tune. It's a train wreck there for a few minutes. But
Yeah.
we're going to
That's
Happy Valley next Saturday coming up, and that's western. I think you'd say western North Carolina.
Yeah, it is. It's between Asheville and Smoky Mountains National Park.
Yeah, because we're going to be staying in Franklin with
Okay.
some friends that have some B&Bs there, and that's why Jerry Light is coming, because he said I can be there in like 45 minutes. They're going to leave at midnight to come play in Florida. I said, of all weeks for you guys to come to Florida, I'm going to your state. We're going to be crossing paths like that.
Wow. Wow. That's cool. But that's such a beautiful, and you're going to see the fall colors. The fall colors are on. I just recorded our Asheville. We were talking about that. It's like, it's going to be magical. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's beautiful up
I've
there.
seen it before. It's spectacular.
Do you like playing outdoors versus indoors? Because you seem like an outdoor, should be outdoor kind of thing.
There's a different vibe during an outdoor show. I think, especially in good weather, it's just a happy place to be. If I had to choose one or the other, I would prefer outdoor.
Yeah. Rooftop.
Yeah.
Rooftop is always good. I don't know. There's something about the energy of like being out in nature, and then there's just a vibe of it to me. Like, it's freeing.
Oh, yeah.
It's freeing. And you got fresh air, and it's freeing, the outdoors. But you never know if you have to have good sound people for it, to do outdoors.
Outdoors too, normally you may have 10 bands like during the early afternoon, through the afternoon, early evening, and then the last few are the headliners.
Mm,
For an indoor venue, used to be 3 bands, now it's 2.
yeah.
That's it.
So we're doing a show coming up about your first gig, being prepared for a first gig. Do you remember your first gig?
Yeah, I was 10 and we played in it was, 2 of the guys that were in Blackfoot later on. We grew up together since kindergarten.
Cool.
We played in the school cafeteria. No, we had a little auditorium with a stage, and it was just 3 of us. And I don't remember having a bass. We had drums and 2 guitars.
Okay.
We would take turns. Everybody played drums, everybody played guitars. We knew 3 chords, that's it. First gig, and right after that, we played, I think, a skating rink, and then we made $1.60 a piece and free Cokes and popcorn. We're earning a living.
Professional gig. As soon as you get that first dollar,
Yeah, we never stopped. I mean, 8 years later, the 3 of us with Charlie became Blackfoot.
wow. You think about going like a ice that's amazing.
Yeah.
Any nerves when you first did it, or you just like, yeah, let's go for it? And were you playing
Well,
covers, do you think? Or were you doing
all
originals?
no, all covers. 10 years old, whatever was
Yeah.
we could learn to play that was on the radio,
Mm.
but I got a ukulele at 5, my mother gave me. Within 2 weeks, I'm playing like 2 notes, and finally I could play 4 notes, after about 3 or 4 weeks. And then I started piano lessons at 6. I've been a musician all my life pretty much. I don't know life without music. If I didn't have music,
Mm.
I'd just die, I'm sure.
So does the bass came later? Where was the decision to be focused on bass?
So I had this idea to form Blackfoot with Ricky and Jackson that was in our childhood bands, and a keyboard player who started kindergarten with us. And at the last minute, I was like, "Well, who's gonna play bass?" And they said, "You are." And I said, "I've never played bass." They said, "Well, it's the only thing you never played, so Tad, you're it." Ricky had a Hofner bass like Paul McCartney, and that's what I played for like 6 months until I could afford to buy my own, and it was a Fender. But I never thought about playing bass. I
I
didn't
think
think about when I'm putting this grand band together, what I was gonna play. It didn't occur to me. I just said, so we got the drummer, the keyboard player, guitar player, the singer, and then when I asked who was gonna play bass, they said, "Well, you have to." I said, "Well, okay." But I could play
necessity.
guitar enough to I crossed over the bass very quickly.
Well, yeah, but it's so interesting because it's like you have to dial down what you do on guitar and get to the meat of it, like just be, and have those runs and keep that steadiness of something. That's like
Yeah,
you have to be the
most
train.
bass players are former guitar players. That's a kiss of death because they overplay. I
Yeah.
was going up and down the neck. So that being new to me and only knowing the basic chords, I just stayed down on the low end and still
Mm.
do to this day.
Actually,
So,
piano helped. Knowing piano helped the bass.
yeah,
Piano is like they always say, like if you learn piano, you can play anything. I don't know about
it teaches you the
trombone.
basic theory for sure.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So when you get started, right? So you go from ukulele to bass, and then you're touring the world, amazing, everyone, Lynyrd Skynyrd, you have Blackfoot, all these different musical things you're going big
Hmm.
with the bass. Are you writing the
Hmm.
music? Okay, so do you write on the bass? Because I found writing with a bass actually makes you, I don't know, for me, made me get right to it as well. There's like a difference.
Like the song "Traveler" that's on the new record, that was a pure bass lick. I was just playing it one day, and then Jackson, the drummer, wrote that a long time ago, and, he fell into it, and he said, "Oh, I like that." So then he and I wrote the words to it. So that one was born off of a bass run, bass lick,
Mm,
and there's been only a couple of other songs that really got its beginning from a bass.
mm,
More have come from just an acoustic guitar where you
mm.
play chords, with multiple notes, and a few piano, not many, just a few.
Yeah. So you're writing the lyrics too?
Sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah. Do lyrics ever come first, or is it always the music first for you?
not for me. It's either pretty much at the same time, or most of the time it's music first and then. But I mean, I've got 2 notebooks of lyrics, and I
Mm.
keep thinking somebody needs to take these, do something with them.
Well, gee,
I
there's this
can't
band
put it.
called Two Wolf. And by the way, twowolfrocks.com. You got to go there, y'all. That's the site.
Yeah.
Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, yeah, you're all there. And
Hmm.
that's how you keep up with everything. But that's a perfect name for the website name. Perfect. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's this band called Two Wolf, and I'm thinking, that would be a good place for those songs. I want my double
Yeah.
album.
Now, Chris and Lance, I think they tend to write both at the same time as far as, lyrics and chord progression individually. It comes more of the music first for me. I've tried it both ways, and I look at these lyrics. I said, "Wow, that make a great song," and I just can't come up with a tempo. Somebody else could, but I can't.
Okay. Hmm. That's wild. On the bass side, yeah. It's all about the phrasing. I think that's the other thing. If you can sing, that's also helps with the phrasing,
Yeah,
how the words have got to, like a poet, the poet needs to
yeah.
do their
There's a
reading.
certain cadence to
Hmm.
singing. That's happened to me only a couple of times. That was pretty quick, and then other times it happened. It took longer, but that's what got me on the right track, was having the
Yeah.
because I'm thinking in my head when I'm just playing a single bass note is a cadence to it. It's, something will click in your head.
Mm, that's cool, man.
I'm not
Weddings are
like a
best.
premier songwriter. I mean, I'm not a lead singer either. I can sing some background, but I had to sing 2 songs on the record, and I promised the guys I'd never do that again.
So where's the band name from? Wolf.
It's my tribal name.
Two Wolf. Yeah, because I know a lot of people are going to go, Two Wolves. And I'm like, no, it's Two Wolf. And I find that interesting because when you think of, you've got two guitar players going at it too. And the wolf is just like a magical, I mean, that's the apex, right? Species. Yeah. Because they can lay low and they're fun. They're fun animals. Like they're fun. They're social. Yet at the same time, don't mess with them, you know?
Well, mine came from, I was living in Montana, about 4 miles from Canada in the northwest corner, and I had a dream, and what I saw was an eagle and 2 wolves.
Mm,
I always had an affinity towards both, and I woke up and I recounted that dream. It kept running through my head, and then I started doing sweat lodges and going through ceremonies, and
mm,
Two Wolf is what stuck. I wasn't born with that name. Years earlier, it was Lone Wolf.
mm.
It became Two Wolf because I got a shield over there. I painted on elk hide, and that's actually somewhere on the cover. I know it's on the CD. I haven't seen the vinyl yet. There'll be a little circle, I think, on the back lower right-hand corner.
Mm. So that I'm excited about the vinyl because that is
Me
you
too.
gotta turn that volume up. I want old school, like remember the old stereos,
Oh gosh, yeah.
and you'd have the big speakers. It was like the first thing if you moved, you go like, where's the stereo going? That was the most important thing,
Oh
the
yeah.
direction of the speakers. Like who cares about the couch? The couch goes
Right, you can
according.
put that anywhere.
Yeah, just who cares? But it was about the stereo having like one full wall. It always had to have its own wall, you know?
Yeah, I've got an old Marantz head, and it got kinda scratchy and didn't wanna come on sometimes. So I retired that 15 years ago, but I haven't thrown it away. You can fix that, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Just go
Yeah.
through it, it has those blue lights like Marantz was famous for, and it's only 45 watts per side, but it's a pure 45 watts.
Mm.
I went out and bought me a RCA 100-watt stereo. I could talk louder than that thing was wide open. It was awful.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, it's Marantz is pure power. It's not filtered down through transistors and resistors and all of that technical electronic stuff. I'm gonna get it refurbished one day.
Be cool. And that's the thing with gear. It's like we get better and better and better, right? With things like even
Things, yeah.
organs, right? Like if you go back to old Wurlitzers and they had the old tubes and it was like a breathing, living being to me
Yeah.
versus when it gets too, I know we need all the buttons and all that stuff and it's fun and it's great, but the sound has gotten pristine, but some things to me, I sometimes feel we're losing the warmth, like vinyl has warmth versus a CD,
It does.
in a way, you
Mhm.
know? So I kind of have this thing about like how sometimes the old stuff was way better in understanding that,
I
you
think
know?
so.
Yeah.
I've got a keyboard here and went out in the studio, and they have a button you can press, and it adds strings to it.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes it nice and warm.
Mm.
It's not just an electric piano.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make it sound almost like a grand piano, but when you add that string button, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, but you know how many years it took to perfect that?
Yeah.
Because you're talking strings and that can get no, there's some hard no's out there. But they really I mean, there's certain like in the keyboards or Roland was pretty good. I think one of the top of getting some of that sound,
Yeah.
you know? But it's that filler. It's like it creates the wall of sound.
You're right. Yeah.
It
I
does.
came out with that Mellotron, which was
Mhm.
tapes. Each note was a tape, and it would only go 7 seconds. You had to release and mash again. So when we did Diary of a Working Man and Blackfoot,
Yeah.
I've tried to get that sound and I couldn't. So it came out more of a flute sound, but
Mm.
it wasn't like a Native American flute sound, but
Mhm.
it was okay. But you could tell it was a keyboard. When we re-recorded that last year, that's on this new album,
Awesome.
I brought a friend of mine in that lives in the Nashville area, and he's a great player, a guitar player, fiddle. I said, "Can you play a cello?" He said, "Well, I have one." I said, "Will you come to the studio?" So I taught him the part.
Mm.
He brought that cello in and he took that bow, and the first time he went across the string, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, that's what I wanted originally was a cello.
Cello is one of the best instruments ever
Yeah. And
crafted in
listen
the
to that
world.
song. It's not a featured part, but you can hear that bow
Yeah.
few places. You hear go, ooh.
That's my thing. That is one of my favorite songs on the album. It's just, it's a beautiful, it's like a story. You know, you're in that setting, you're in it. But the cello, if there's cello on anything, I'm like a bee to honey for a
Dude,
good
I
cello.
love orchestration. I
Mm-hmm.
played saxophone in school for I think 5 years. I just always I wanted to be in the orchestra, and I had a study period free, and the principal wouldn't let me do it. I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, for 45 minutes, and he
Yeah.
wouldn't let me do it because I wanted to learn how to play a cello. I never got the chance. So my mother bought me a violin many years ago. I got that thing, put that bow across the strings, and I'm like, it hurt my ears.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still in the case. That was
Ah,
1973.
ah,
I haven't
wow.
touched it since. It's a nice
Yeah,
violin.
it's that cello has that really, it's like a earth mama sound. Is
Yeah.
it's deep, it's soulful. If you're in a sad place, I don't know, you listen to that kind of sound and it puts you at ease. It doesn't make you feel alone in what's going on in the world or whatever. There's just so much to it. I think it's a very it's like if a human it's like it's got a human voice, but the human doesn't have that voice.
Yeah, it's
It's
hard
like
to explain, but it captures you, kinda gets into your soul, I think.
it does.
I listened to Mark Knopfler, a couple of live things he did with an orchestra. Have you heard that?
No,
My god, the
man. He's one of
orchestra,
my favorite
he's
guitarists.
surrounded by there's like 4 girls on cello, and then there's violins, there's timpanis, and ELO, of course. They always had the cellos, and
Yeah.
I love that kind of music.
It sets the stage, like rock operas. We want that kind of
Yeah,
oh,
hadn't
hey,
heard that
cool that you
from
guys
him.
do that. You guys should go do it. Yeah. Get an
Yeah,
orchestra I mean, there's this elevation of it where it's just like, wow. I remember watching the film Mr. Holland's Opus and
yeah,
how they built that. And then the final production of the school band coming out and performing
yeah.
and get rock guitars in there. And I was like, yes, this is epic. And now it's epic.
Yeah, I remember when we left Florida 6 months after we formed, and we're in New York City, and I had this idea that if we could go back to Florida and play where we went to school, because they had a great orchestra, and, of course, the band director loved it,
Mm.
and the principal wouldn't allow it because he thought we were a bunch of, drug-ridden hippies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"We don't do drugs. We don't even know what it looks like yet at that point."
Yeah.
We never got a chance to do it, and in hindsight, we could have been the first rock band to have ever done that
Yeah. That would have been
with a
so
full
cool,
high
and for
school
the
orchestra. Would have been
kids would have learned
timpani.
so much.
Oh
Oh,
my god,
timpanis are amazing, aren't they? They are.
yeah, I think so.
Mm. What were you listening to when you were in school?
Beatles, my favorite bands, a lot of Beatles, but then, the hits of that era, the top 40 hits, some good stuff coming out of especially Britain, and so we always had when Blackfoot was formed, we did a lot of songs by European bands because nobody had heard them over here, or very few. So we're doing Deep Purple, we're
Mm.
doing Uriah Heep, Wishbone Ash, and they thought they were our song. We said, "No, no, we didn't write that. British bands."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
But then Vanilla Fudge came out.
Mm.
Got the Vita, that changed the complexion of everything.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah, the greatest thing since ice cream, you know? And then a few other bands emerged with this breakthrough sound that none of us could get.
Mm.
And it wasn't that hard. It was so primitive, it was easy, but we didn't figure that out.
Mm. Yeah, but you guys have a
I went to
sound.
see the Beatles live in the Gator Bowl when I was, I think, 15.
Wow.
Absolute pandemonium. I never heard a note they played or a word they sang. It was nothing but 50,000 screaming girls.
Oh my God. And their
Just
sets were
awards.
shorter.
And I was just sitting there on the edge of my seat like, "My God, I'm seeing the Beatles."
Heard a recording of them playing live in Atlanta. And they only toured the States for like 1 year
Yeah,
almost.
not
And
long.
then they broke up. Yeah. And so they were playing this live recording, and you're thinking like, talk about trying to do a live recording from a show, like that kind of a big show. It's not
Yeah.
like you're on the Ed Sullivan kind of deal. And I think they did Ed Sullivan at the same tour kind of thing.
Huh?
But like you heard the craziness, and it's like even if you didn't know it was the Beatles that you were about to listen to, just by the insanity, you knew
Yeah.
the Beatles were coming. But it was so interesting, and how short the sets were. I mean, my God,
God, yeah. Songs was 2 minutes and 5 seconds, you know?
it was like it was just so like Ringo Starr just cracks me up. They're like, all right, we're gonna let Ringo sing, and I'm like, go Ringo! I love Ringo. His energy is just so like he's just like, come on, man, let's just all have fun. Paul McCartney,
Mhm.
same kind of positive, they're all good, man.
Yeah.
I loved every single one of them. Uh yeah, John Lennon, man. He was just he had like a dual side, I think, when he wrote. I don't know how to
He
explain
went
that
from dark to light.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Paul went to the dark as much as John. John liked to play in the dark, but you got to. You know? You've got to play in the dark at
Yeah,
times,
he
you know?
attributes that to his childhood, the
Mhm.
tragedy with his mother.
Mhm.
I think he actually saw her get hit by a car, that killed
Yeah.
her, if I remember right. And so he grew up with an aunt who was very kind to him. But no matter the kindness, when you witness a tragedy like that at that young age, that's a forever impression in your brain. You'd never get that out of your head.
Yeah. No, 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 well, music's a good place to go, you
Mhm.
know? Music is a healer, and I think now, with the way the world is going, that's why I'm like, you need music before you turn to anger. Turn the radio on. Play that album. Do that first,
That's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a great childhood and loving family, and I'm the last one living. All my family's gone, but
Mm.
my my growing up was, I mean, it was like Leave It to Beaver. It's just picture perfect. Never got a beating.
With the ukulele.
Yeah, I mean, I was the youngest, so my sisters thought I hung the moon. I could do no wrong in their eyes, and my brother, because I was the youngest, and I just had a great childhood. Nothing but fantastic memories.
That's awesome.
And being here, we lived in Jacksonville some too, because Daddy got a job in Jacksonville. But even then, we were over here weekends, summers, and holidays. And we cropped tobacco. We gathered peas and corn, and we fed the livestock. We did everything, the old way. What a great childhood! And we didn't
Yes,
have
that is.
pesticides.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a problem with that now. As I was
Yeah.
watching some of the Farm Aid footage from the recent concert in Minnesota, and listening to all the farmers, these small farmers trying so hard, and red tape coming up to people that are just trying to actually do clean work and help the soil come back. And I think I love that, to see music paired with supporting things like that, because it's
Mhm.
our we can't live without music, and we can't live without food. So I think it goes
Ah,
hand in hand.
totally
Yeah. I
makes the
mean,
world go round. I'll tell you one thing that's not music related, but about the soil is 2 years ago we were going to plant the field and corn. We do that for the deer, and now it's what Roundup is.
yeah,
So
Monsanto.
kernels are grown in soil that's treated with that to keep the weeds down. So it's called Roundup Ready
Mm.
corn. and it's hard to find shelled corn that you can replant. And in fact, this year we didn't find any at all.
Wow.
I thought, my gosh, so even the deer's it's gonna to affect them, I'm sure, over time. I mean, that's insane.
I mean, it is Agent Orange. It's the same company who dropped, Agent Orange, all over, including Hawaii. What
Yeah.
they did with Hawaii is terrible. And then when we went back on the tour that we're on now, we were based in Tucson area, and Monsanto moved in where
Oh
we were
my
living.
god.
And they changed their name, by the way, and I can't remember what it was. And I remember it was like the last night we were home before we hit the road and watching the news, and they're coming on with this yippee aren't we wonderful? We're making food for everybody. And they have this new name, and it's like healthy, and it's like complete propaganda. And I interviewed a lady, Rita Kopolensky. Woof, I still remember. And she's passed. Her son is passed. Everyone's passed. Her husband got sick through Agent Orange. He got sprayed with Agent Orange when he served in Vietnam. Comes home, she's pregnant. It doesn't affect the mom. So it's a carrier for her. So her son ended up with it.
Oh my.
Monsanto brought, when everyone's fighting on autism and everything. Well, hello, guess what helps that? So that's what happened. So Monsanto comes in, he's autistic, all these different health things that were unexplainable. And then he falls in love, has a family. Next thing you know, same thing, it goes to the child. So
Mhm.
Monsanto stays in generations, moving down through everyone. Is that
And the
not
Union
crazy?
Carbide, that was another that poisoned all the wells up in the Dakotas. And on the reservations, babies were being born with missing a finger or two or a thumb or ear. I mean, it was sickening. And nobody talked about it.
Mm.
For
That
years
happened?
later, and it
Yeah.
was too late, all the wells were poisoned with the runoff
Yeah.
from mining and all kind of stuff. That Union Carbide.
And they put places that do the mining and factory farming and anything that has pollution attached to it next to communities that are not them, right? And so if you look,
Of
the Grand
course.
Canyon, we've done this, and how we ended up on the road full time is to, support the land and to not have dead zones. We don't want dead zones. We want to do what you do, take care of this property, in Grand Canyon area, which they keep going out to mine for uranium. Here, this is also where the coal plants are, and we've done multiple shows for the Navajo Nation and the pollution and the cancer that has been caused. So it's the fight is back on again, obviously, with what's going on. And so there's a lot of places in the country with that, some parts that,
A
and
lot of
it's
secret
people's
stuff.
land. They were born there. Next thing you know, you're an ancestral land. It's like, here, suddenly we're going to put coal right next to you and you get sick. And that's just too bad on you. So we do that a lot in
Still
this
shocked to
country.
this day. I think about, especially South Florida along the Atlantic coast, the mangroves.
Yeah.
I can't get through that stuff. That's like going through barbed wire. And how, like, the Spanish and others, got off a boat, got in smaller boats, got to shore and worked their way inland. I mean, to this day, you can walk out my door and you have to do this, unless it's been cleared to a point. It's thick down here because it's warm all the time. It's tropical.
Yeah.
I don't know how these deer run around the woods. That amazes me every time
Well,
I.
and it is amazing how, the vegetation, like you go down the Everglades, or they've got bromeliads growing in trees, orchids growing everywhere. And,
Yeah.
and it's just like in the mangroves, I mean, your biodiversity in the Everglades is exceptional and it's threatened, but it's amazing because you got manatees, crocodiles, and alligators on the same place. But the
I
crocodiles
saw
want to
that
hang out on the
recently.
coast. Yeah. It's cool.
We've had a few
Florida's magic.
that come up in the Swanee River.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They do.
Sturgeon, they've made a little bit of a return. Got killed, they come up out of the water and knocked somebody out of a boat. A game warden got killed, hit him right in the chest a
Wow.
few years ago.
Can happen. It's part of the course. Now, do you ever think you'll do like a music that, um, obviously Southern rock is Southern, right? It's got that style and sound. And like I say, I think it's culturally diverse. To me, it is. Southern rock is like everyone that lives here, and this is our sound, right? You've got your sound with what you do, but and the blues is in there. Thank God. Thank you for that. Do you ever think of doing an album that is written like about the history of the places that you're in and have been, like the history of that kind of? song?
I've thought about it, and I don't know what kind of market there would be for that. Yeah, but I'm sure there's some out there that would appreciate it. If I were to do something like that for not for profit, it
Yeah,
wouldn't matter if it sold 10
yeah.
or 10,000,000. I don't know if I'll ever do that or not, but I
Maybe do
have
it like
thought
as in a
about it.
documentary too, kind of like a.
Yeah.
Has any of your
I
music been in film?
No, we were in a beer commercial one time for Busch Beer back in the '80s.
Now you'll never play in a school.
No, not that I recall.
It'd be cool to have. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I love this. Well, I'm so glad you've made my year with this album, and that you guys are performing. No, I'm. I tell people I'm like I'm a musical pig. I mean, it is like whenever there's new music and it's really good, I'm just like, yeah, I get excited, and I think this is exceptional. People are gonna rock out. And listen, look, we've got the rest of the year to go, so I say just rock it, power it out, and
Oh,
enjoy
yeah.
that cruise. When does that cruise happen again?
February, let's see, I think it's a little bit later this year.
Okay.
I don't remember.
We can put the
It's
link on the
February,
site.
and
Okay.
they've all been in February except the first one was in December,
Okay.
2011. And normally we go out to Fort Lauderdale, and last year and the year before, we went out of Miami. Oh, that was awful. The Fort Lauderdale's much better.
Mm,
But it's every year, and this is 13 coming up next February, and we
awesome.
already booked on 14.
Right
Yeah.
on. Well, it's cool because you're cruising and all that, but don't you have like more of an intimate connection with your listeners, your fans that are there to hear you
Oh, yeah,
play and
we're
be able
all
to have
out
that
walking
connection?
around day and night. We don't stay in our rooms except to sleep, and that's
Yeah.
briefly. We're definitely, and a few others, fan favorites because we're so approachable. We just hang out.
Yeah.
Everybody else does. And the vice president was standing there actually this year, and he kept taking pictures for people. He said, "Let me see your phone. I'll take a picture." And then, an hour went by, and he said, "Between me and other people, I bet you've had 50 people get a picture with you and you signed something." I went, "Well, yeah, that's what we do. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be here without these people. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be playing a show anywhere without people showing up."
Mm,
That's how we always looked at it. I don't care
yeah.
if there's 10 or 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that show up deserve everything you have. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of bands don't do that. They get an attitude like, "Oh man, nobody's out there." That's cut the set short and just kind of get through it. And no energy, no communication with the crowd. And I resent that. The
Yeah. Yeah.
crowd that showed up deserves the best you can be, always.
You know what? And being that, you've got to show up. They make you show up, and I think
Mhm.
that's one of the keys to life is show up,
Yeah, you
period.
said, and that I was
Hmm.
raised that way.
Hmm.
You show up on time and you do the best you can do, and nobody can fault you for that.
And
'Cause you
tell the
know you
truth.
did the best you could do.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much, Greg.
Oh,
It's been wonderful. I
thank
could
you a
talk to you for
million.
years.
Well, call me sometime. I'm home a lot, and when it gets cooler, I'll be inside more because I do not like the cold. I'm a Florida boy.
No, and in northern Florida does get cold, man, and people
We
don't
get
realize
freezing.
that. No, we used to live on the Panhandle.
Yeah.
I remember Pensacola one year. I'm like, what is this white stuff? I'm from Africa. This
Oh,
doesn't happen.
yeah.
There's white beach. There's white sand on the beach. What's it doing coming from the sky?
That happened
And
this year too because I have friends in Panama City.
yeah,
They got like 5 inches. It was crazy. And
man,
up in
that's
Georgia, I'm not sure we even got a flurry here, 30 miles to where Live Oak is,
oh, yeah.
Georgia border. I think they had like an inch, and then as you go a little bit farther north, 2 and 3, and it got
Wow.
worse as you went north. Yeah, we didn't get it here.
I love that area. Oh my gosh, I love that area. It is just the biodiversity of your region is incredible to me. And I love it. And I think Skinner did some songs that were really nature infused. I can just write it in a song. I can never remember the name of it.
Uh,
And he talks about the she gators.
Swamp
Eh,
something
eh,
or something swamp.
yeah, have you ever seen a she gator protect her young ones? And it was all about like, it's like, do you know the South? And I love that song because like, I think people don't really realize that Florida, like your area, that yes, you have forests. Yes, you have bears. Yes, you have these. amazing crystal, springs to go in, and
Yeah.
and just the nature, and having that and understanding the beauty of alligator. I go to Florida just to hang out with alligators. I love them. I really do.
I had two this past week. Of course, this is all primitive, but I was standing there looking out at the pond and I went, the gator walking right down the road, which is, grass covered. He gets in the pond, saw two in the past 5 days. Yeah, and I've been out my deer stand and had a bobcat come in and just lay down by the corn. And I'm thinking, dude, you're messing up my hunt. And I remember the last time that happened, I leaned forward and I kind of whispered, I said, what are you doing, Mr. Bobcat? And he went, couldn't see me, but he heard me. And I had to get up, walk out the door, got a platform and steps, and I started talking. I didn't want to yell. And I'm waving my arms. I'm saying, get out of here, get out of here. And finally he stood up and walked off, and I got all the way to the bottom of the steps. And he looked at me like, well, screw you, buddy.
Yeah, they do look
He
at you. Well, they're
walked off, and then the next day I went out there and got card out of my camera, and he came back about dark that night, but he just walked through. There was 3 or 4 pictures of it.
it is his land, right?
Well, that's what I always say. I've had panther. I mean,
Really?
panther. Yeah, I've only seen
Wow.
5 in my whole life here. Black panther once, about 20 miles from here.
No way. That's
They
cool.
were rare. But that's a genetic malfunction,
Yeah.
like 1 in 100,000.
Well, yeah, because when we lived in Arizona, though, we had jaguars coming over, El Jefe, and he got killed, sadly. But I was always on the, when we go hiking, we'd always like, okay, come, I want to see you. I want to hang out with the jaguar. But some of them are pure black, so but it's not like the panther. But the panthers, yeah, man, they need any place they can go. They really do.
Yeah, like I said, I've only seen like 5 here my whole life. From right here, I saw one walk by the pond and about the split rail fence coming through the swamp. I've seen them back in the woods a little bit. I give them a wide berth. I don't bother them because you're
Yeah.
right. They've been here for thousands of years.
Mm.
All these
Family.
critters have.
Yeah,
Gators are prehistoric. I
they
don't have
are.
big ones out here, but I don't think I've ever had one any longer than 6 foot, 3 and 4. I've got one out there now that's about 5 and the other's about maybe 3.
Oh, the
But
baby's still.
they're,
Oh,
well, they're not, I don't think they're old enough, bigger one to even breed yet.
yeah. Now, we hung out with baby gators this year. Was it January, February? We ended up it was outside of Savannah. There's a national wildlife refuge, and we went there early morning. Of course, we always like to dusk or dawn, and I keep hearing this sound, and I'm going, it sounds like baby cheetah to us. Because sometimes we forget what country we're in when we're out in the bush,
Yeah.
And they have all these storks. These wood storks are just rookery, like you can't, it's just stork land, And I hear this ow sound. And I'm like, it's cat. We're like, what is that? I'm thinking, well, because they've got like the mangroves almost, coming
Yeah.
along the sides. And turns out these were baby gators. And
Mhm.
who knew, right? We did not know. And I should know after all these years. But, so the next time we went, it was maybe a couple weeks later. And we're walking on the edge of the pond and it's baby season. And duh. And then all of a sudden we're hearing massive growls. And I'm looking at Nancy, my mom and I were like, sounds like a lion now. That's like a lion roar. And then it really got loud. And then it was like, they say don't run, but nuh-uh.
Oh, when they grunt, yeah.
When she was standing up, like, how lizards do that. And then I saw all these little babies and I was like, I'm so sorry, but this whole pond, they were echoing off of each other, all the mamas, because the moms stay with the babies and they go after the male. They weren't really like, we're in our way, but she was like warning us, but that scared. It really did. We're like, holy hell, you got to get out of here. I mean, no, really, it was like, don't be stupid. Wildlife needs to have their thing. We would never have done that if we had seen her and the babies, but they were hiding.
Yeah.
And we were hearing all these sounds, but it was the men and the boys stay on one side and then the females on the other. The females and the males will duke it out because the males will steal and kill the babies. It's crazy.
Well, I know
Anyway,
that gators will eat their own sometimes, or a bull gator will eat, the little ones like that.
Yep. That's exactly why she was all like, that was that size, But I don't know what's going on in a little bit south of you is Wakula Springs. Man, people are still swimming. It's where Tarzan was filmed, and people are swimming, going on boat things. Gators right here, man.
Silver Springs, all those rhesus monkeys are still there. You know, they closed that down
What?
2 years ago. No more glass bottom boats. I used to go
Oh,
there
yeah.
every year with the Boy Scouts when I was a kid. Ross Allen had his reptile farm. You had the rattlesnakes and the gators. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all closed down now. And those
Wow.
monkeys are everywhere. They're on both sides of the river. It's Silver River.
So it just like let them out. Wow. Wow. Well, there you
Yeah,
go. One.
from the filming the Tarzan movies, you know, they just multiply.
Wow. Wow. I did not know that, man. But there you are, everyone. So we got Two Wolf. Go to twowolfrocks.com. Go get the album. It's self-titled. And go to Florida, man, and go hang out with some gators and rhesus monkeys. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a true pleasure.
Come down, I'll give you a nature tour. That's what I can tell them.
All
Show you
right.
a
There
real
it is.
animal.
Yeah. Go with a real wolf.